Discover the incredible truth. 11 lives changed forever by a blind daughter's amazing legacy. In the small town of Maplewood, a whisper rippled through the air that left people breathless. 15-year-old Emily, a blind girl with an uncanny gift for sensing emotions, was about to change everything. Her ability to feel the heartache and fears of others was unmatched. Even though she couldn't see their faces, she could read the room like a book. And in a town where pride often masked pain, she had become a silent champion, bringing light to the darkest corners. One afternoon, Sarah, Emily's devoted mother, watched her daughter as she sat on their porch, surrounded by the gentle sounds of cicadas. Emily's fingers danced over the cool wood of her walking stick, her brow furrowed in thought. Sarah smiled, but behind that smile lay worries that twisted her heart. Maplewood was struggling. Jobs were scarce, the grocery store had closed, and the community center, where Emily had found her second home, was threatened with cuts. Yet Emily had her own light, a radiance that seemed to draw those nearby into her orbit. Over the weeks, Emily had woven herself into the lives of townsfolk. There was Mr. Jenkins, the war veteran haunted by his memories. She sensed his simmering anger, the weight of remorse bearing down on his shoulders. One afternoon, during their brief encounters, she boldly asked him about the medals that hung on his wall. She could feel the hesitance in his response, a brittle facade crumbling as he opened up about battles fought long ago. "I sometimes wonder if I'm the one still at war," he confessed. Then there was Tom, a single father juggling work and his restless child. Emily recognized the exhaustion in his strained laughter. "I'm running on empty," he admitted one evening as they chatted at the community center. With such simple words, Emily devised a way to lift the spirits of those weighed down by daily life, inviting them to share their burdens in the safe space she offered. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tensions grew as the community center's fate hung in the balance, its budget threatening to vanish. Conversations turned into whispers of doubt. Sarah became protective, often snapping at Emily when she insisted on helping others. "You need to be careful. We both need to be careful," she exclaimed, frustration spilling over. Emily longed for independence, but every pushed limit strained their bond. Further, as the town hall meeting approached, the air felt electric with anticipation and fear. Would they save their lifeline, or would despair win? Emily could sense the anxiety swirling and the weight of expectations cradled in her heart. On that night, she took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of her mother beside her, their hands brushing, a reminder of love despite turmoil. As she stood before the crowd, uncertainty rippled through her. Could she truly be their beacon of hope? With unwavering resolve, she opened her mouth to speak, ready to confront their fears and reveal the ties that bound them all. The room fell silent, each pair of eyes heavy with expectation, their breaths barely audible. Emily could feel their anticipation, a wave of emotion that crashed against her chest. She blinked, her mind racing to grasp the words that formed a jumbled mess. But deep down, she felt a spark, an unshakable desire to connect, to reach out. "Maplewood is hurting," she started, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "We're all carrying something. Sometimes it feels like the weight is too much to bear. But I believe we can lighten that load together." A murmur rippled through the crowd. She picked up the sounds, confusion mixed with curiosity. Emily's heart raced. I can't see the pain you're going through, but I can feel it," she continued, her tone more resolute. "Mr. Jenkins, you said you were still at war. But you don't have to fight alone anymore. We all need each other." A gasp echoed in the back of the room. It was a moment that went beyond just words. Before she knew it, memories of past conversations flooded her mind. The sorrow in Mr. Jenkins' eyes, the weariness in Tom's humor. Each face represented a story, a soul longing for connection. "Everyone here is battling something," she pressed on, "and together we can create a space where we can heal." As Emily spoke, she noticed a glimmer in her mother's eye. Was that pride? With every syllable, Sarah's expression softened, and a nervous knot in Emily's stomach untied slightly. She caught glimpses of Mr. Jenkins nodding, Tom leaning forward, fully engaged. In that moment, Emily felt a bond form, a web of shared struggles crisscrossing the room. Just then, the mayor stood up, his face pale. "Emily, it's inspiring what you're doing, but the funding cuts are serious. We might not be able to save the center." His words hung heavy, a dark cloud looming above them. Silence filled the air once more, but this time Emily felt a surge of determination. "That's why we need to fight for it," she exclaimed, more forcefully than she intended. "This community center isn't just a building. It's us, our stories, our laughter, and our tears. We can't let that go without a fight." Sarah felt the shift in the room, the energy translating into hope. Whispers turned into a chorus of voices. People began to speak up. "I'll volunteer," one woman shouted. "My sister can bake goods for fundraising," another called out. Every new voice added strength, fueling Emily's fire. She could sense a tide shifting, every word lifting their spirits. For the first time in a long while, they found common ground amid their struggles. When Emily finished, the audience erupted into applause. She stood there, heart pounding, flushed with a mixture of disbelief and elation. It was working. They were coming together. As the meeting came to a close, Sarah enveloped Emily in a warm embrace. This was a turning point. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. But the reality of their situation loomed large. They had sparked a flame, but would it be enough? The council meeting was next week, and the fight had just begun. Emily glanced around, catching Mr. Jenkins' eye. He held up a fist, a gesture of solidarity that ignited something deeper within her. But as she watched him, uncertainty flickered in her mind. What if their efforts fell short? What if hope wasn't enough this time? As they slowly filed out of the auditorium, Emily felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, that familiar tug of responsibility. She was ready for the challenge, but was their community truly prepared to face the winds of change? She took a deep breath, a blend of anxiety and excitement coursing through her veins, as she wondered what the next week would bring. The following week dawned brisk and bright, the sun spilling gold across Maplewood. Emily woke early, her heart racing. The council meeting loomed like a mountain before her, a daunting climb she'd have to scale with her community hanging in the balance. She shuffled into the kitchen, the aroma of coffee swirling around her. Sarah was already there, her hands busy kneading dough. Small flecks of flour dusted her cheeks, and there was a sparkle in her eyes, as if she could sense the shift within her daughter. "Big day, huh?" Sarah said lightly, glancing up with a smile. Emily nodded, trying to mask the knots tightening in her stomach. "Yeah, I just hope everyone shows up, and that they care enough to fight." "They will," Sarah replied, then added, "You awoke something in them last week. They felt seen." Emily looked down at the table, fiddling with her phone. She had received a flood of messages after the meeting, a chorus of volunteers eager to help, ideas flowing like the river they'd crossed in childhood. Each note filled her with hope, another reminder that they were in this together. yet the nagging doubt still tugged at her heart. With breakfast behind them, Emily gathered her notes and flyers, every piece meticulously arranged, yet it all felt so insubstantial against the weight of the decision to be made that night. Would it inspire the same sense of urgency? Would they really be able to change the council's mind? As Emily walked to the community center, she took in the sights of Maplewood. Kids riding bikes, neighbors chatting on porches, the familiar sounds that made her heart swell. Each face told a story, and she realized it was those stories she needed to share. Arriving at the center, she found the hall buzzing with excitement. Tablecloths adorned with bold colors had been laid out. Posters decorated the walls with hopeful slogans. Tom stood at the entrance, juggling flyers and a stack of coffee cups, looking like a one-man welcoming committee. "Hey, superstar," he grinned, confidently handing out coffees. "You're gonna knock their socks off tonight." Emily chuckled, but felt a twist of anxiety in her belly. "I hope so." People began filtering in, some familiar, others new faces drawn by the promise of change. They found seats, settled in, and slowly the room began to fill. Each familiar voice built her confidence, whispers of encouragement wrapping around her like a warm blanket. As the meeting started, she looked out at the crowd. Every seat filled, every smile a reminder of shared purpose. She wasted no time and launched into her speech, her words ringing true. What we're fighting for isn't just the center. It's our connection. It's our home. We are stronger together. Emily spoke from the heart, drawing on her own experiences, the isolation she had felt before. As she recounted a winter's night spent in the center, learning to dance, learning to laugh, she saw glistening eyes around the room. Everyone deserves a place to heal, a place to share, she concluded. The room a tapestry of inspiration, her voice trembling with raw emotion. We need this center, not just to exist, but to thrive. The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing off the walls, a powerful testament to their collective spirit. Cheers erupted, faces lit with determination. But even in that moment of triumph, a flicker of tension pierced her resolve. Now the real question is, Emily thought, swallowing hard, will the council hear us? As the evening wound down, she caught sight of Mr. Jenkins again. His smile was contagious, his presence a nod of encouragement, yet she saw a stoic sadness in his eyes. What if they weren't enough? She lingered, plotting her next steps, the final meeting days away. As people congratulated her, Emily's mind spiraled. Would their passion be powerful enough to change hearts? An unexpected loud bang broke the moment. The door slammed open, a gust of wind bursting into the room, and suddenly she felt the sharp jolt of urgency. Who had arrived? What news were they bringing? As she turned, hope mingled with doubt, facing whatever came next with resolute courage. The gust of wind carried a mixture of cold air and something far more impactful, anticipation. Emily squinted against the sudden rush, eyes darting toward the doorway. The crowd turned as one, a sea of faces painted with curiosity. There, silhouetted against the fading light, stood a tall figure. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was a nightmare," shouted a voice that cut through the murmur like a blade. It was Jenna, her old friend from high school, now a local journalist. Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. Jenna had always known how to rally a crowd with just her presence, her voice striking a chord that pulled people together. But at the same time, fear crawled in with that relief. Would Jenna's article help or hurt their cause? Jenna hurried to the front, her hair catching the light, framing her enthusiastic smile. "I heard about this meeting and had to come. I was so inspired by what Emily said last week. Let me help amplify your voices." The room buzzed again, this time fueled by renewed energy. They spoke in hushed tones as Jenna pulled Emily aside. I've got contacts at the paper who are eager to hear about your fight for the community center. We can make this bigger than just one meeting. I want to showcase what this really means to Maplewood." Emily swallowed hard, her heart battling between hope and anxiety. "That's amazing, Jenna, but what if it doesn't go the way we plan? What if the council pushes back?" Jenna's eyes softened. "Then we keep pushing. We shine a light on it. People need to see what's at stake here." Incredible gratitude filled Emily's chest. Jenna always had a way of igniting courage where it lay buried, and she needed that spark now more than ever. The weight of responsibility pressed on her. This was about more than just one building. It was about community, belonging, and connection. Turning back toward the crowd, Emily watched as familiar faces exchanged excited whispers, buoyed by Jenna's arrival. She felt the pulse of collective determination. Each person there believed in something greater than themselves. "Folks," she called out, raising her hands for attention, "we've just been given an incredible opportunity. Jenna is here to help us get our message out to the wider community. This isn't just our fight anymore. It could become the catalyst for a movement." Cheers erupted, faces lit with excitement. It was that shared joy that made every hardship worth it. She was ready to harness this momentum, to raise their voices so loud that even the tallest walls of City Hall would echo with their cries for change. As the meeting continued, Emily shared stories from the community, weaving connections between their lives and the center's significance. Laughter and sighs washed over the room, a rhythm of solidarity echoing with every word. But among the cheers, an unease lingered. The meeting was only the start. Would the council resist? Would they listen to their hearts? Once the band of new volunteers began forming committees for outreach, Emily noticed Mr. Jenkins approaching her yet again, his brow furrowed with concern. "Emily," he said softly, his voice trembling slightly, "I know you're passionate about this center, but we have to consider all the angles. Will the council truly listen to people like us? It's not just about what we want. We need to understand what they need too." His words struck fiercely. Would the council truly understand the depth of their need? As doubts crept in again, Jenna stepped forward. "We'll make them listen. Together we can create a proposal that's impossible to ignore. We'll show them the numbers, the statistics, and most importantly, the heart. That's something no council can dismiss." The room erupted again, cheers clashing against her fears. But as Emily stood before the community, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Time was short. Would they have enough strength to push through the barriers? What if their heartfelt pleas didn't reach the council? The door swung open once more, and in walked a stiff figure, the mayor's aide, the last person Emily expected to see. The realization washed over her. The stakes were rising, and the final showdown was rapidly approaching. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever news was about to be delivered. Would it crush their spirits or feed the fire within? With a sense of dread mingling with anticipation, she wondered just how pivotal this moment could become. Would it mean salvation or despair for Maplewood? The aide strode forward, adjusting his tie, his expression unreadable. Emily felt the room grow tense. The buzz of conversation diminished to a hesitant silence. All eyes were fixed on him, waiting for a verdict. "Thank you for gathering, everyone," he began, his voice steady but lacking warmth. "The mayor has received numerous emails regarding the community center. He understands it's important to many of you." He paused, scanning the faces of the crowd. The anticipation was palpable, a kind of electricity crackling in the air. "However, we need to clarify a few things." Emily's heart raced. She could sense Mr. Jenkins fidgeting beside her, while whispers of disbelief and anxiety stirred in the audience. While we appreciate your passion, the Council is focused on fiscal responsibility and immediate project proposals that directly serve our current budget. The aide's eyes settled on Emily, his tone sharp. This means, unfortunately, that additional funding for community projects like yours might not be possible at this time. A collective gasp washed over the room. Emily felt herself wilting, the air leaking from her lungs like a deflating balloon. Anger sparked in her chest. How could they dismiss so easily something that meant so much to her, to them all? "Excuse me," Jenna burst out, stepping forward. Her voice was indignant. "You don't understand. This center isn't just a project. It's a lifeline. It's where families come together, where kids find mentors, where our community thrives." Emily admired Jenna's fire, but fear balled in her stomach. What if that fire scorched their chances? The aide narrowed his eyes slightly. "I understand, but I urge you to focus on what can be realistically achieved instead of pursuing a dream that might not be feasible." A murmur of dissent rippled through the crowd. Mr. Jenkins stepped up beside Jenna. "We're not just asking for a handout. We're asking for a chance to work together. Our center can save lives. It can transform futures," Emily whispered, more to herself than anyone else. The words ignited a flicker of courage within her. As all eyes turned back to her, she straightened her back, pushing past the terrified knot in her throat. "Look, we know times are tough, but isn't that why we need this center even more? To ensure no one in Maplewood feels alone? None of us are asking for a handout. We're asking for the opportunity to show you what a difference the community can create together." The intensity in her voice seemed to ripple through the room, igniting something. She could see the glimmers of hope rekindling in familiar faces. People began nodding, murmurs of agreement washing over the crowd like a wave. "Look, I know we can provide statistics, data, or any kind of document you need," Jenna continued, her voice steadying as Emily found strength in her. "But more than that, we can show stories, lives changed because of what this center could offer. That's what holds weight." Emily glanced at Jenna, feeling a swell of gratitude and resilience. They were united in this fight, her vision of a brighter Maplewood pulsing with every beat of her heart. But the aide remained unmoved. "You'll need to organize and present your case properly," he said, eyes cold. "Until then, there isn't much more I can do." With that, he turned on his heel and left as abruptly as he had appeared, the tension in the room thick like fog. The crowd murmured anxiously, disappointment hovering like heavy clouds. Emily could feel her own spirit tethering, the reality of what they faced looming like an insurmountable wall. Yet something inside her stirred, a quiet steel unbending in the face of all that doubt. "Together," she urged, eyes sweeping over the crowd, "we can show them. It's not just about the center. It's about us, what we stand for, what we can create as a community. We can't give up now. Who's with me?" Her plea hung in the air. Then one voice broke through, shouting, "I'm in!" followed by another until an overwhelming chorus of commitment erupted. Hope ignited within her once more, but she knew the hard work was only beginning. Would they truly be able to channel this determination into action before the council meeting? The question loomed, pressing against her heart with every beat. They weren't finished yet, and the real battle was just around the corner. Could their passion and united voices break through the barriers that hung before them? Emily stood in front of the crowd, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The energy shifted, palpable and electric. She could feel the heartbeats of those around her, a rhythm of hope, of determination. Each pair of eyes reflected the same intensity she felt inside. "Let's plan a meeting," she said, raising her voice to combat the heaviness of the moment. A brainstorming session where we can all share ideas and organize our thoughts. We can showcase everything we believe the community center can offer. We're in this together, right? Murmurs of agreement started traveling through the room. Emily could see people nodding, their faces lighting up with a spark of enthusiasm. The initial shock of the aide's words began to fade, replaced by the promise of action. "Let's meet at the old library tomorrow night," Jenna shouted, the fire still crackling in her voice. 7 o'clock. We'll bring our stories, our dreams, and our plans. Who's with us? A chorus of voices rose up, loud and clear. "We're in! Count me in! I'll be there!" The air echoed with renewed determination, the pessimism replaced with a sense of purpose. As they began to disperse, Emily felt a warmth spreading through her. Together, they could do this. They could fight for their vision. But a question flickered in her mind. Was this enough? Would writing down their hopes and dreams ever truly capture the heart of their fight? She needed more than just passion. They needed strategy, conviction, a plan that could win the hearts of the council. The next day, Emily found herself at the library earlier than anyone else, shelves heavy with memories and thoughts long frozen in pages. She opened a blank notebook, the crisp paper inviting, and began jotting down ideas. Names of community members who might share their success stories, local businesses that could provide sponsorship, and various programs they could run at the center. Each word etched itself deeper into her resolve. The quiet of the library soothed her frayed nerves, but each glance at the empty chairs around her reminded her of the weight of responsibility. If they were going to succeed, they needed to lay a solid foundation. Jenna arrived first, her excitement bubbling over. "I brought cookies!" she exclaimed, waving a bag filled with treats. "Brain food!" Emily chuckled, but there was a deeper gratitude behind the laughter. Jenna's unwavering cheerfulness gave them both strength. They began arranging the chairs in a circle, a symbol of unity, inviting everyone to share their thoughts openly. As the team began to gather, the atmosphere shifted again, from anxiety to collaboration. They shared their stories, their dreams for the center, and their experiences of isolation that a space like theirs could combat. Each narrative woven into a tapestry of hope and resilience, illuminating why this fight mattered. Time slipped away as they scrawled ideas on the whiteboard, laughter and passion filling the room. But a looming dread clawed at the edges of Emily's mind. Even as they crafted their plan, what if the council saw them simply as idealists? What if their words fell flat, drowned out by financial jargon and indifference? "Okay, everyone," Jenna's voice broke through her thoughts, snapping her back to the moment. "We need to choose our strongest stories, and we have to make sure we deliver them right. The council needs to see the impact this center will have on real lives." Emily's heart swelled with the truth of Jenna's words. They were more than just a project. They were a vital piece of the community's heartbeat. But as sunlight slipped through the dusty windows, casting long shadows, Emily couldn't shake a feeling deep down. What if their best wasn't enough? The library door swung open, and more people poured in, eyes glinting with resolve. Could their united voices truly shake the foundation of decision-makers? Would their collaboration spark change or lead to heartbreak? As they dove into discussion, Emily took a deep breath. The real test was yet to come. And with each word they exchanged, she couldn't help but wonder if the mayor's aide would ever really believe in them. The reality was stark. Time was ticking, and their moment of truth awaited them. Would they stand firm against the opposition, or falter when it mattered most? Emily sat at the front of the library, surrounded by a sea of eager faces. The weight of their stories filled the air, heavy yet promising. She could sense the blend of excitement and nerves, a cocktail that ignited the gathering like kindling in a fire. They were all there for the same reason, to reclaim their community center and refute the aide's cold dismissal. "All right, let's begin," Emily called out, her voice steady but her fingers drumming anxiously on the notebook in her lap. "Who wants to start?" A young man named Alex raised his hand. He had shyly introduced himself to the group earlier, and now he visibly steeled himself. "I grew up in this town. My friends and I used to hang out at the community center every weekend. It was our safe space. We could play basketball, take classes. It brought us together. Without it, I felt lost. I'm still figuring out what to do without that support." His words struck a chord. Emily saw the nods around the room. People shared Alex's truth. One by one, they took turns. Martha spoke of how art classes changed her daughter's life. "She's always been shy, but once she started painting at the center, she flourished. She made friends, found confidence. We can't let this place disappear. It matters." With each story, the energy in the room escalated. Emily scribbled motions and quotes, a whirlwind of ideas and emotions capturing the promises they wanted to relay to the council. As Jenna chimed in with her own story about the friendships formed in their shared struggles, Emily's spirit soared. It was no longer just about saving a building. It was about saving something far more meaningful: their connections, their identities, and their community. "Let's be strategic," Emily interjected when the applause settled. "We need to create a petition with our stories. If we can show them the real impact of the community center, they can't ignore us." Everyone began brainstorming ideas, excitement fueled by lead pencils scratching against paper. Emily felt alive, every heartbeat harmonizing with those around her. For the first time, doubt dulled its harsh edges. She believed in their cause. She could feel the power of their collective voice. Yet, amidst the fervent planning, a shadow of self-doubt clouded her mind. Would borrowing the stories of their fulfilled lives resonate with the cold, calculated minds of the council? What if the emotions that filled this room fell flat in the face of policy? "Shouldn't we have a backup plan?" Emily posed hesitantly, raising an eyebrow. "If they dismiss our petition or think we're just blowing things out of proportion?" Jenna's smile faded slightly. "Maybe they will," she admitted softly. "But we can't give up hope. We have to show them how much we care, how much we need this." Another voice broke in, a familiar one. "We need to mobilize the community. It might not just be us in this room." It was Mara, stepping back in from the side with a determined sparkle in her eyes. "What if we organized an event, a rally or open day? Show people what's at stake. The more support we have, the stronger we are." The suggestion ignited new conversations, excitement bouncing off the walls. Emily felt the thrill of possibility rush through her. They had already started solidifying their strategy, but this could amplify their message, put their stories into action. "Brilliant idea!" Emily exclaimed, clapping her hands together. "Let's pick a date for our rally and hit the streets. We can fly our stories and invite everyone. If they can't see what we're fighting for, we'll bring it right to their door." Cheers erupted. Commitment gleamed in their eyes. Yet, as the excitement spread, Emily felt a knot in her stomach. What if it wasn't enough? They could rally every soul in the community, but what if the council was still resistant? As they began to squabble over dates and plans, Emily caught sight of the clock ticking above her. Time was slipping through their fingers like sand. They had a lot to accomplish, and she yearned to make sure they didn't just create noise without substance. Would their spirited rally make enough waves to reach the council's ears, or would their hopes come crashing down? "Just remember," she said, calming the buzz momentarily, "this is our chance, but we have to stay united. We can't lose sight of what's important, no matter what happens." But deep down, the uncertainty festered. Would their voices echo in the hallways of power, or would they dissipate like whispers in the wind? Determined, she grabbed her pencil and slammed it down on the table, punctuating the urgency that hung thick in the air. "Let's get to work." But even as they dove into action, Emily couldn't shake the nagging voice that asked, would they ever feel truly heard? The meeting erupted with enthusiasm. Ideas spread like wildfire. Emily felt her heart race as the group brainstormed ways to make their rally. Unforgettable. Posters, speeches, music, every suggestion fed the growing flame. Each voice added strength to the collective resolve, washing over Emily like a wave of hope. "Let's have names and faces on our posters," Alex suggested, his confidence blooming. "People need to see who they're fighting for." "That's powerful," Emily agreed, feeling the warmth of unity swell. "We should also gather stories of other residents, anyone who was touched by the center. It's time to highlight just how pivotal this place has been." The room buzzed with energy and a palpable sense of purpose. Ideas flew back and forth, laughter mingling with determination. But inside, a storm brewed. The clock ticked down the minutes, reminding her of the urgency they faced. They couldn't get lost in excitement. They had to remain focused. "Let's split into teams," she suggested, raising her hand for attention. "One for creative, one for outreach, and one to handle logistics. We have to make sure each detail is taken care of. This can't just be a flash in the pan. It needs substance." As the teams formed, Emily felt an unfamiliar thrill. This wasn't just about fighting for a building anymore. It was a community coming back together, a long-lost choir now harmonizing anew. Hours passed as they discussed every aspect of the rally, from the best location to how to reach the news team. When the meeting finally came to an end, Emily felt a rush of accomplishment. But exhaustion tugged at her, mingling with nagging questions. What if this effort ended in disappointment? She stood alone for a moment after the others filtered out, her fingers drumming again, but against the table this time. As she looked around the empty library, the silence wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. Could they really turn the tide? "Hey!" A voice broke through her thoughts. It was Jenna, flashing a revealing smile. "You did an amazing job today, you know." "Do you really think so?" Emily asked, hesitating to allow herself the comfort of pride. "Absolutely," Jenna nodded vigorously. "Everyone lit up when you spoke. You sparked that passion in all of us. This rally is going to be incredible, and it's because you believed we could do it." Emily felt warmth spread inside her, pushing back the doubt. "Thanks," she murmured, feeling lighter. "But—" Before she could voice her fears, Jenna placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Just focus on the next step. We can't control the council's decision, but we can make sure our voices are heard, really heard." As they stepped outside into the lingering sunlight, the day felt full of promise. Emily inhaled deeply, the scent of fresh air filling her lungs. It was a reminder of what they fought for. Not just a building, but a home. When they parted ways, Emily pulled out her notebook, flipping to the blank pages. The sun cast golden beams over the empty lines, and for a moment, everything seemed possible. One by one, she jotted down new thoughts, quotations, ideas for speeches, even her hopes for the rally. Just as she closed the notebook, a chilling thought sliced through the warmth of the moment. What if we face backlash? Fear coiled tight around her heart. Would they encounter anger instead of support? Would they feel the fear of rejection again? The question echoed as she walked home, each step heavy with uncertainty. But buried beneath that uncertainty was a flicker of resolve. They would share their stories. They would rally. They would stand up. Together, she whispered to herself, a promise forming. Only deep down, a question remained unanswered. Had they prepared well enough to weather the storm brewing on the horizon? Seizing her thoughts, she clutched the notebook tightly, feeling its weight. It was time to brace for whatever came next. And as she turned the corner onto her street, the looming shadows of doubt danced on the edges of her mind, begging for resolution. What would happen when the day finally arrived? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that mingled with the swirling thoughts in Emily's mind. She walked home, her heart pounding not just from the anticipation of the rally, but from the invisible weight of possibility and fear. After another long day of planning, she still couldn't shake the worry clawing at her insides. As she stepped inside her small apartment, she paused. The familiar clutter felt like a comfort. A scattering of books, old pictures, and memories filled the space. Each object whispered stories of her past, of where she'd come from, and the struggles that had shaped her. She sighed, dropping her backpack onto the table. Emily approached the window, peering into the darkening street. The flickering lights of their neighborhood brought a sense of calm. If they could all feel this sense of community, perhaps they were stronger together than apart. She wanted to believe that. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, jolting her from her reverie. It was a message from Alex, his enthusiasm crackling through the screen. "Hey, just wanted to remind you about the speech ideas we discussed. Don't forget to break the ice. We have to connect from the get-go. Remember why we are there." She smiled despite herself. It was easy to see the vision they were all chasing. Still, a cacophony of doubts filled her mind. What if they really faced resistance? What if the council didn't listen? "Just breathe," she murmured, letting the words settle like a gentle guide. She flipped open her notebook and stared at the stark lines waiting to be filled. Suddenly propelled by a sense of purpose, she scribbled down her thoughts. "We're not just fighting for a center, we're fighting for our voices, our families, our roots." The weight on her chest began to lift slightly as the words flowed. But just as excitement was about to blossom, another thought gripped her. How would the community react? Would they stand with her, or would the apathy she feared take hold again? As she finished drafting a speech, the memories of her childhood flooded back. There were echoes of laughter, moments shared in that very community center. It had been a refuge for her and her friends, a place where they could be themselves. That heritage sparked a flame within her. With renewed energy, she selected a few photos from her phone. Snapshots of kids playing, seniors gathering for classes, families sharing meals. Each photograph caught a piece of joy, a fragment of what they were fighting for. "Tonight, I'll assemble a digital collage," she declared to herself, her resolve tightening. This was bigger than just her. It was about everyone who'd walked through those doors. Hours slipped away as she worked, weaving together images and stories. She felt her adrenaline surge as she crafted each slide, envisioning them illuminated on large screens at the rally. The desire to encapsulate their shared hope filled each moment, pushing away her earlier fears. Eventually, fatigue ebbed in, reminding her it was late. But just as she began to wind down, a new message popped up, pulling her focus. It was Jenna again. "Hey, just checking in. I can't wait to hear you speak. Remember, we're all rooting for you." Her heart fluttered at the thought of support. Maybe they really could make a difference. But the flicker of concern remained, a persistent reminder that not everyone would be in their corner. As she locked her phone, a single question lingered, refusing to fade. Could they really overcome the silence and opposition they might encounter? Staring at her completed work, she felt both anxious and determined. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we'll see." And with that, she turned off the lights, casting her apartment into darkness, where a storm of emotion swirled, yet clarity hovered just at the edge. What awaited them at the rally the next day? A surge of support or a wave of resistance? The day of the rally dawned bright and sunny, as if the universe itself had conspired to uplift the spirits of Maplewood. Emily stood in front of her mirror, her heartbeat a steady drum against the nervous silence of the morning. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her shirt, and she took a deep breath to calm the stirrings of anxiety deep in her chest. Today was the day. As she made her way to the community center, the quiet streets began to buzz with excitement. Neighbors were putting up signs, and children ran around with painted faces. A palpable energy hummed through the air. This was a community standing together. When she arrived, Emily felt the warmth wash over her. Volunteers were bustling, setting up tables and arranging chairs. Colorful banners dotted the hall, vibrant messages of hope and unity stretched across them. Together we can. Our center, our voices. Each slogan pulsed with life, echoing the very belief she harbored in her heart. Jenna spotted her and rushed over, her smile wide. "You're going to be amazing. Just remember, this is your moment. Speak from the heart." Emily nodded, gratitude pouring from her heart. Jenna seemed to possess a superpower, a knack for knowing just the right words to say. "Let's gather everyone," she called, and Emily led the charge. One by one, faces she recognized filled the space, each of them attached to a story that could shake the walls of indifference. As the crowd settled, a wave of silence enveloped the room. Emily's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She stood behind the microphone, feeling warmth radiate from the collective gazes glued to her. A soft hush fell over the hall, and she felt the weight of the moment settle on her like a cozy blanket. "Thank you, everyone, for being here today," she began, her voice shaking slightly. "This moment isn't just about saving a community center. It's about all of us, our stories, our lives, our connections." The room hung on her every word, and she could hear the whispers of agreement ripple through the crowd. A knot of fear loosened in her throat. "I've lived here in Maplewood for most of my life, and for me, this community center has been so much more than a building. It's where I learned to find my voice. It's where Mr. Jenkins fought his battles with support beside him." Her eyes found Mr. Jenkins, who nodded solemnly, that familiar camaraderie now evident in his posture. It's where children blossom, sharing laughter in halls that have witnessed our growth. The crowd stirred, faces lit with recognition and memories rekindled. She could sense the air vibrating with shared experiences. The emotions around her swirled, energetic and alive. "We are stronger together," Emily continued, her confidence growing, wrapping everyone in her words. "We can create a safe space for healing, laughter, and connection. But we need the council to hear us. We need them to feel us." With each word, she noticed her audience shifting, enthusiasm building, pulses quickening. The mission reached beyond mere survival. It was about their hopes and dreams tinted with resilience. "I know there are challenges ahead," she pressed on, urgency flashing through her voice. "But as a community, we can face anything, together. We can turn this rally into something they can't ignore." Applause erupted, a thunderous echo that filled every corner of the center. Emily beamed, encouraged by their unwavering energy, a beautiful tapestry of voices rising to a single call. Cheers and chants followed, sparking infinite possibilities. "Together, together," they chanted, building strength, the walls of the center vibrating with their conviction. As the frenzy of excitement settled into proud whispers, Alex approached the mic once more. "Let's make sure our stories reach the council. We will gather signatures today and share our stories online. We won't let anyone silence us." People began to divide, moving into groups, their energy buzzing with purpose. Emily felt swept along. Everyone moved as one cohesive force, sorting, signing, sharing their experiences. The room transformed into a vibrant mosaic of unity, a hub of hope and determination. Hours passed in what felt like moments. Emily stepped back to soak it all in, her heart swelling with pride. They were coming together, striking a chord that resonated far beyond the walls of their community center. Then, just as the day began to wind down, an unexpected guest slipped through the door. The mayor himself, barely recognizable among the frenzy. Conversations quieted as heads turned in disbelief. Emily felt her heart race. This was it, their chance to be heard right in front of their most powerful decision-maker. The mayor surveyed the room, a mix of surprise and curiosity revealing itself on his face. Without missing a beat, Emily stepped forward, her voice steady. "Thank you for joining us, Mayor. We're showing all the reasons why the community center isn't just a building, it's the heart of Maplewood." She shared stories, voices, and laughter with the audience. As she spoke, the mayor listened, looking around at the faces illuminated with passion, belonging, and fervent hope. "Please don't overlook this. We're a community united in our hopes for a better future. We want to thrive, not just survive. This isn't a request, it's a need." The room filled with applause again, but this time it radiated with a sense of urgency, a powerful resonance of the voices fighting for recognition. The mayor's eyes softened, the pursuit of percentages and budgetary constraints fading into the background of the collective spirit surrounding him. "Emily," he said slowly, raising his hand, "I hear you, and I want to understand." She exhaled, relief flooding her senses. It was a beginning. The rally didn't just galvanize their efforts, it awakened something more, a sense of belonging that pulsated through Emily like electricity. Maplewood had come alive, the voices of families, children, seniors, a chorus of resilience. As the mayor stepped back to address the crowd, it was clear. The conversations wouldn't just stop here. They had opened a door not only for dialogue, but also for transformation. In that moment, Emily realized change was possible, not just for the community center, but for the very fabric of their lives in Maplewood. Together, they could rewrite the narrative and redefine what it meant to be a community. And as sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating their faces, their resolve, their dreams, and unyielding spirit, Emily felt hope swell like never before. This wasn't just the end of one fight, it was only the beginning. Now, more than ever, the call echoed louder. Never back down, never ignore the dreams that fueled their spirits. The transformation was real, and it was just getting started. To everyone reading this, if you believe in the power of transformation and community, now is the time to act. You need to subscribe immediately to catch the next incredible stories. You have to leave a like to fuel the algorithm and make sure others see this movement. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait, not even one more second. To share this video with at least 5 friends who also need to witness this inspiring transformation. Together, we can build something extraordinary. Let's make our voices heard.